Hey guys, Rogue Boys here. So here I have my Mutant deck. It's pretty much one of the best rogue decks. It can sometimes even compete against the current meta. Here we have the Mutant MO5. He is one of the two starters in this deck. His effect is, if this card is normal special summon, you can add one mutant monster from your deck to your hand, except himself. You can tribute this card, then banish one card from your hand or face-up field, special summon one monster from your hand or deck based on the banished card. So if you banish a monster, you get to special summon Mutant Beast. If you banish a spell, you get to special summon Mutant Mist. And with a trap, you get to special summon Mutant Arsenal. Of course, both of these effects are once per turn. Then we have the second starter of the deck. It's Mutant ST46. His effect is basically identical to the MO5. The only difference is ST46 searches your mutant spells and traps. For interruption on your opponent's turn, you have the Mutant GB88. His effect is during your opponent's main phase, if Mutant Evolution Lab is in your field zone, quick effect, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is special summoned during your opponent's turn, you can tribute this card, then banish one card from your hand or face-up field, and special summon one of your level 8 mutant monsters that is banished or in your graveyard. Of course, both of these effects are once per turn. Then we have the big boys. Here is Mutant Arsenal. I play two of them because getting any more than two is just a break. This way it's kind of balanced. So his effect is cannot be special summoned except with the effect of a mutant card. Your opponent cannot target this card with trap effects. So pretty much your opponent cannot imperm you. It just cannot be targeted by traps. You can use each of the following effects of Mutant Arsenal once per turn. When your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, you can banish one card from your hand or field, then target one monster on the field and banish it. Pretty much it's monster banishing both your field and your opponent's. It's more useful to banish something from your opponent's side of the field. Then if this card is in its owner's possession, destroyed by an opponent's card, you can target one of your banished mutant spells and add it to your hand. Next big boy is your most important one, Mutant Beast. I again play two of them. He cannot be special summoned except with the effect of a mutant card. Your opponent cannot target this card with monster effects. You can only use the following effects of Beast once per turn. When your opponent activates a spell card or effect, quick effect, you can banish one card from your hand or field and negate the activation. And if you do, banish that card. This can be incredibly useful. Like your opponent tries to activate something like Mystic Mine, you negate it and you banish that card, which is incredibly useful. I had plenty of chances to use this. It's amazing. Then his second effect is, if this card in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can target one of your banished mutant traps added to your hand. Here we have Mutant Mist. He is the least useful one, but you still want to have at least one off. It can be useful, mostly for, of course, your fusions, which we'll get to later. He again cannot be special summoned except with the effect of a mutant card. Your opponent cannot target this card with spell effects. You can only use each of the following effects of Mist once per turn. When your opponent activates a trap card or effect, quick effect, you can banish one card from your hand or field, draw 2 cards. You rarely ever get to use that effect, but it's good that you actually have it. If this card in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can target one of your banished mutant monsters added to your hand. Now this is a bit more useful, however, since you're rarely, in this deck that I made, you're rarely ever gonna have him destroyed by your opponent, you most likely ain't gonna have that effect. Next up, I play Dimensional Shifter. I play him 3 off. It's incredibly useful because this deck focuses on you banishing as much as possible, and if you can, lock out your opponent into banishing, because that stops a lot of decks actually. So his effect is, if you have no cards in your graveyard, quick effect, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard. Until the end of the next turn, any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead. So this is basically a 2-turn macrocosmos that you send from your hand to the graveyard. Next up, I play 3 Necrophase. It's incredibly useful to banish this card, because again, you are plussing if you have loads of banished mutant cards. His effect is, you probably already know, but if this card is normal summoned, shuffle all banished cards into the deck. Which means both me and my opponent get to return all banished cards to our decks. Next, Necrophase gets 100 attack for each card shuffled into the main deck by this effect. I once managed to get Necrophase to be a 3k attack beatstick by using his normal summon. Then his second effect, which is the one you want to use, which is your preferred method to use him. If this card is banished, each player banishes 5 cards from the top of their deck or their entire deck if less than 5. So this is really incredible. This deck, as I have it set up right now, has the potential of banishing 20 cards from the top of your deck only because I play Gold Sarcophagus. Then Gold Sarcophagus, what Gold Sarcophagus does is banish 1 card from your deck face up during your second standby phase. After this card's activation, add that card to the hand. Pretty much, if you start off without a Necrophase and you have Golden Sarcophagus, you activate Golden Sarcophagus, banish one of the Necrophases, you have the potential to drop the other 2 in case they get pulled by its effect. Then after 2 turns, it comes back to your hand. And if you have one of the small boys, you can banish Necrophase to get out Mutant Beast. It's an incredibly good combo, and if somehow you manage to banish 20 cards, it's incredibly useful. It can kill your opponent's deck basically. Next up, I have 3 Mutant Evolution Lab. This is the Archetypes field spell. It again has benefits from your banish zone, and what it does is, when this card is activated, you can special summon one of your level 4 or lower mutant monsters from your hand or that is banished. Which again, MO5 is level 2, ST46 is level 3, and GB88 is level 4. You can special summon all 3 of them. Second effect from this card is, mutant monsters you control gain 100 attack for each of your banished mutant cards with different names. That's not as useful, but sometimes you can get decent attack. You can pretty much get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you can get 1000 attack. In a perfect scenario, of course. It's not as important. And the third and final effect of this card is, once per turn, During your main phase, you can place one mutant monster from your hand on the bottom of the deck, and if you do, draw one card. You can only activate one mutant evolution lab per turn. I rarely ever use it, but if you have a brick, say one of the big boys, level 8s, you can return it and potentially draw into another starter or something more useful. I played 2 Mutant Fusion because it's not as useful, but it's a pretty good fusion. Fusion summon one mutant monster from your extra deck by banishing fusion materials listed on it from your hand or field. If your opponent has activated a card or effect this turn, you can use up to one monster each from your deck and graveyard as fusion material. You can only activate one mutant fusion per turn. This can be incredibly useful. Like say you manage to bait your opponent with terraforming and you have the mutant fusion. You can basically give yourself a fusion monster from your deck or even graveyard. Next, I play one Raigeki. This is personally my +1 in this deck. It's not necessary, but I have incredible luck hard drawing this card. It just destroys all monsters your opponent controls. It's non-targeting, it can remove pretty much anything. I'm playing one terraforming, which is, for the most part, I use it to bait my opponent, to negate it. If he doesn't, of course, you get to have your Mutant Evolution Lab, which can allow you to special summon, potentially, of course. Next up, I have one Emergency Teleport. I don't think there's much to say about it. Special summon one level 3 or lower Psychic type monster from your hand or deck, but banishing during the end phase. You will not get to banish it. They will banish themselves. Of course, MO5 level 2, ST46 level 3. You can special summon either, but preferably you want to special summon MO5 because he will search your ST46. It's basically a one card combo. Next I'm playing Dimensional Fissure. So any monster sent to the graveyard is banished instead. Again, force banishing on your opponent and yourself, because you get to benefit from it, your opponent doesn't. I've already said what Sarcophagus is for, so I don't need to clarify it anymore. I'm playing 3 mutant expansions in this deck. This again is your starter, and you can start it during your opponent's turn. What it does is, when you activate this card, you can take one level 4 or lower mutant monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or special summon it. If a level 8 or higher mutant monster or monsters you control would be destroyed by card effect, you can banish this card you control instead. You can only activate one mutant expansion per turn. It can be a really good starter and it can defend your big boys, which means Arsenal, Beast, Mist, and your fusions, because yeah, they are level 8 or higher. Next type, we have arguably the best fusion in this deck. It's Mutant Cry. So during the main phase, fusion summon one mutant fusion monster from your extra deck by shuffling the fusion materials listed on it into the deck from among the cards on the field, in your graveyard, and or your face-up banished cards. Now this is incredibly amazing. Say you somehow open up with your mutant fusion. You banish the materials to summon your fusion monster, and you set Mutant Cry. During your opponent's turn, you activate Cry. You get another fusion summon from the cards you used for fusion. It's incredibly good. Next up, I'm playing 2 Solemn Warning. This card has proven to be incredibly good, especially in this deck. You can prevent the summon quite cheaply. You only pay 2000 life points. and you destroy the card that was going to be summoned. I'm playing 3 infinite impermanents, mostly because they're way more useful than Effective Veiler, which I have side decked. Everyone knows what it does. Sometimes you want to set it, other times you want to play it from your hand. And last but not least, one of the greatest cards in this deck, Macrocosmos. Now, you do not use the first effect to special summon Helios, the Primordial Sun, because you don't play it. That's the useless part of this card. However, while this card is face up on the field, any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead. This is incredible for this deck. Shuts down your opponent because they're afraid of banishing their useful material, and you get to benefit from it. And for the extra deck, I'm playing 2 Mutant Ultimas. Mutant Ultimus requires 3 level 8 or higher mutant monsters. When a card or effect is activated, quick effect, you can banish 1 mutant card from your hand, graveyard or face-up field of the same type, monster, spell or trap. Negate the activation, and if you do, banish that card. So Ultimus is negate and non-targeting banish. Can be useful, but he's mostly late game monster. If this fusion summon card you control is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can add up to 3 of your banished mutant cards, up to 1 of each, mutant spell, monster, spell or trap to your hand. You can only use each effect of Ultimus once per turn. So if your opponent pops your Ultimus, you get a starting hand, pretty much. Next up, I'm playing 3 Mutant Synthesis. You want to summon him a lot, especially during your opponent's turn, because you get to pop a card in his field. Anyways, his requirement is 2 mutant monsters with different attributes. All of your big boys are different attributes. Arsenal Fire, Earth Beast, and Mist is Wind. However, every single small boy, MO5, ST46, and GB88 are water. And so is your Synthesis, which is pretty much why I don't play There Can Be Only One, unlike most people who play this deck. His effect is, if this card is fusion summon, you can target 1 card on the field, destroy it. When your opponent activates a card or effect, quick effect, you can activate this effect for the rest of the turn. This face-up card is unaffected by the effects of an opponent's card or cards of the same type. So if say your opponent's monster would be somehow destroying your Synthesis, activate his effect, unaffected by monster effect till the end of the turn. Same goes for spells and traps. If this fusion summon card you control is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can add 1 of your banished mutant cards to your hand. You basically get to choose what you want back. And of course you can use each of the effects of Synthesis once per turn. Next type. Now this is extremely unique for my deck. I haven't seen anyone use this. I found number 97 Draglubion. I don't know how to say this word, but it's okay, it's number 97. Now he's incredible in this deck. Allows you to open up for more versatility. However, there is a downside to having this Xyz engine that I've put in. It allows your opponent to use Nibiru on you. And if your opponent Nibirus you, pretty much kills your turn. So his effect is, your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. You can detach 1 material from this card, take 2 dragon number monsters with different names from your extra deck and or graveyard, except 97 of course, special summon 1 of them and attach the other to it as material. Also, now this is the bad side, for the rest of this turn you cannot special summon other monsters or declare an attack except with the special summon monster. You can only use this effect once per turn. Now 97 opened up the ability to use all of these guys. The main one you want to summon before your opponent's turn is number 38, Hope Harbinger Dragon Titanic Galaxy. Once per turn, when a spell card or effect is activated on the field, quick effect, you can negate that effect, and if you do, attach that card to this card as material. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can detach one material from this card, change the attack target to this card, and perform damage calculation. If a face-up Xyz monster or monsters you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can target one face-up Xyz monster you control. It gains attack equal to one of those destroyed monsters' original attack. This can be incredible, however, it's highly unlikely that you'll get to use the second effect. Next up, number 99, Utopic Dragon. Now, you're most likely not going to get into him. However, if you do, it's a 4000 beat stick and gets to special summon one of your Xyz numbered monsters from your graveyard. His effect is you can also Xyz summon this card by discarding one rank up magic spell and using a Utopia monster you control as the Xyz material. Xyz materials attached to this card, this monster, attached to that monster to become Xyz materials on this card. Again, not gonna use that part. However, once per turn, you can target one number monster in your graveyard, special summon it in defense position, but its effects are negated. Again, just a beat stick, nothing else. During either player's turn, when a monster's effect is activated that targets this face-up card, you can detach one Xyz material from this card, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. This is a bit more useful, however, I did not get a chance to use this as of yet. Next up I'm playing number 92 and number C92. C92 is used as material. I never go into him because in my opinion he's the worst of the two. Number 92 Heart Earth Dragon cannot be destroyed by battle. Also, your opponent takes any battle damage you would have taken from attacks involving this card. During your opponent's end phase, you can detach one Xyz material from this card. Banish all cards your opponent currently controls that were normal or special summon or were set this turn. If this card is destroyed while it has Xyz material, you can special summon this card from the graveyard. If special summoned this way, gains 1000 attack for every card currently banished. This is incredibly powerful if you get to pull it off. He again is pretty much useless because he is, in my opinion, a worse version of him. So I just use it as material for others. Next type, number C107. He is usually one of your endgame cards, or if you're in a tight spot, because his effect is once per turn you can detach one material from this card until the end of this turn, negate the effects of all other face-up cards currently on the field. Also, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects on the field. If this card has number 107 Galaxy, actually just the basic version of him, which is here, which of course I do not summon, I just put him as his material. If he has this guy under him, gets an additional effect. You can tribute 2 monsters. This card can make up to 3 attacks on monsters during each battle phase this turn. Again, you're most likely not going to use that effect. Next time I'm playing Cross Ship. Again, it has multiple benefits, but you'll rarely ever go into him. It's just as an option. I'm playing Predaplant Verte Anaconda. Everyone knows what it does. It gets to drop a fusion card from the deck to the graveyard, become its effect, and you just use it as fusion. And for the final card in my extra deck, I'm playing Solomon Great Almirage. Again, he is pretty much a staple card at this point. Quick effect, you can tribute this card and target one monster you control, it cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects this turn. That's all that matters on him. And for my side deck, it's pretty classical. 2 Nibiru's, 2 Ash Blossom, 2 Ghost Bells, 2 Effect Veilers, additional GB88. I don't know why I have it here, but it's just to be there. I have 3 Trap Tricks, and I have 3 different dimension ground. It's basically to use as versatility. You switch up these cards for some cards from your deck depending on your matchup. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you for watching and enjoy the gameplay.